The Second Amendment to the Constitution is crystal clear as to its intention and meaning in the context of our current national fixation on the question of gun control. The right to bear arms is an enshrined constitutional liberty, but it is no ordinary liberty. Absent a right to bear arms, none of the other freedoms enumerated in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights are enforceable against a tyrannical government, be that tyrannical government a foreign one or a domestic one. As U.S. Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story put it so elegantly in his influential commentaries on the Constitution of the United States, published in 1833, the right of the citizens to keep and bear arms has justly been considered as the palladium of the liberties of a republic, since it offers a strong moral check against the usurpation and arbitrary power of rulers, and will generally, even if these are successful in the first instance, enable the people to resist and triumph over them. End quote. Restrict or limit gun ownership in any unreasonable fashion, and you put at risk the potential defense of all other liberties which define this republic and which we all hold so dear. Thus, I urge you to join me this evening as freedom-loving people, and I know you are, in defense of this evening's proposition resolved that any attempt to control or regulate gun ownership in the United States should be unconstitutional. I do so for four independent reasons. Number one, the right to bear arms is necessary for the defense of liberty. I've made that point already, but let me elaborate a little bit further. America's founders considered the right to bear arms an inherent right. Fisher Ames of Massachusetts, commenting on the amendments first introduced to Congress by James Madison, wrote, "The rights of conscience, of bearing arms, of changing the government, are declared to be inherent in the people." Alexander Hamilton argued that human nature dictated the right to bear arms. Argument number two, the Supreme Court of the United States has interpreted the Second Amendment of the Constitution as giving citizens the right to bear arms. In the 2008 Supreme Court case, the justices ruled in District of Columbia versus Heller that the Second Amendment does give individuals the right to own guns for lawful purposes, including protection of homes and self-defense. This case was expanded upon by the same court in a subsequent 2010 case, McDonald versus Chicago, in which the Supreme Court applied the Second Amendment using the doctrine of selective incorporation to all the states. Argument number three, gun accessibility is not correlated in this country to the murder rate. Tragic as the mass killings in Newton, Connecticut, and Aurora, Colorado are, they are exceptions, in fact, to the long-term decline in the murder rate from firearms. According to a 2002 report from the Congressional Research Service, in 1993, as an example, there were 17,073 firearm-related murder victims in the United States, with a rate of 6.6 deaths per 100,000 people. Listen to gun control advocates and you'd certainly surmise that that number had gone way up, that it in fact was exploding. In fact, it's gone down, way down. In 2011, there were only 9,803 firearm-related murder victims for a rate of 3.2 deaths per 100,000 people. This is certainly good news. The trend is in the right direction. But the better news is that during the same period, the number of guns in this country has skyrocketed. The National Institute of Justice reported that in 1994, 44 million people owned approximately 192 million firearms. Is someone going to turn all the lights off? That would be nice. By 2009, that number had grown to 310 million guns. So while gun ownership is up significantly, firearm deaths are down in both absolute terms and as a rate per 100,000 people. It really would be nice if the lights were turned back on. Who's ever controlling the lights? Thank you. Argument number four. It's not guns which are the source of our torment and trouble, but culture. The level of violence in the United States has little to do with the kinds of gun laws that are in place. As Thomas Sowell argues, most factual studies show no reduction in gun crimes, including murder, thank you, under gun control laws. A significant number of studies show higher rates of murder and other gun crimes under gun control laws. Why would this be the case? James Q. Wilson tells us, and you won't like the answer. The answer is America is a more violent nation. We are, in fact, not only more violent when it comes to the use of guns, we are violent when it comes to non-firearm homicides. Gun control laws will not stop people from dying. They will simply turn into criminals law-abiding Americans. of former President Thomas Jefferson in 1824 is inherent in the people, that they may exercise it by themselves or they may act by representatives freely and equally chosen. That it is their right and duty at all times to be armed. To be armed. It is their right and duty to be armed at all times. So it was, so it must be today. For the sake of liberty, for the survival of the Republic, I urge you to adopt this evening's resolution. Thank you.